You know, some people say the BMW K1200 RS is too heavy. Well, I disagree. It's not really heavy at all. And neither is this. This is the full-size BMW K1200 RS, exactly the same as that model, except for a bit of extra weight. But it's really not too heavy. It's 285 kilos, which might sound a lot, but it's only 11 kilos heavier than a ZZR11, and it's 40 kilos lighter than a Pan-European. So when people talk about bikes being overweight, you've got to it's horses for courses. So probably the same people who say the bike is overweight, some will also say it's overpriced too. But you get a hell of a lot of bike for your money. For a start off, it's got a superb front end, disc brakes, Brembo discs, ABS braking, and that is absolutely brilliant. To be able to slap the front brake on and stop yourself dead without the fear of skidding is really good. The forks themselves are the famed telelever, which again are really impressive. All tele forks should be like this. It's got this rigid mounting on the frame, so there's no flexing in the forks, spot on handling, spot on braking. Another part of this price does go on this fairing and the fancy colour scheme. This little lot, the yellow and these checkers down here, is £495 extra. That does include VAT, but that's a lot of money. Moving up on the fairing, you've got this raisable, what a word that is, but you can adjust the screen into two positions. It's not electric, and BMW do say you're supposed to get off the bike, grab hold of that and lift it up like that. The idea is that it takes the wind blast off your upper body. It does, but the trouble is the wind then hits you square on the helmet, and so I've been riding with a thing down, and so you get a general more blast, but it's more comfortable, no buffeting. Again, another areas to where all your money will go. Handlebar layout, very unusual on a bike. These handlebars are adjustable fore and aft. You can just see these little splines here. Slacken an Allen screw underneath and pull the bars back. Multi-adjustable. Also got heated grips on these. They cost you £168 extra, but that's within the 13.5 grand anyway, and so it's small beer perhaps. Generally like the layout of the bars set up in the position, but I'll tell you one thing that I really don't like, and that's these licorice all sorts switchgear here. It's nothing like any other bike. You've got a switch here for the indicators to turn left, one there to turn right, no problem with that, but then your thumb has to move to this switch here to cancel them, and so you end up sort of looking at it and thinking, what on earth shall I do next? They call it ergonomic, but it's more sort of, what shall I do next? Not very clever at all. Also, this headlamp switch that's on here, very difficult to operate with a gloved hand. It really is quite stiff. You can probably see the way I'm moving that. Not very clever. So why BMW don't stick to the sort of mainstream bikes, make life easier for everyone. The other thing I should point out, these heated grips, two-position little rocker switch here, and heated grips really are a godsend, especially at this time of year. So you got a low and a very high if you want your hands roasted. So there we are. Get the controls right and it'll be brilliant. The dash panel's very neat. You've got all your indications, including flashing ABS warning lights, which go out once you're rolling. Very neat touch is the digital gear indicator. First gear, back to neutral, first. Very, very neat and very useful on a bike like this with an engine that's so smooth. Underneath all this super duper plastic bodywork, one thing I should say about this plastic bodywork, by the way, you can't fit a tank bag on it that you might have at home, especially if it's a magnetic one, needless to say. And even if you've got a harness with it, there's nothing to actually hang it onto. BMW do provide a tailored tank bag for it, but they couldn't supply one at the time. But you certainly need a special bag for it. Anyway, underneath all this, you've got a cast aluminium frame which runs right down to the bottom to the swinging arm pivot. The engine is entirely rubber mounted in it. Single-sided swinging arm, of course, with monoshock rear suspension. And BMW's famed paralever rear linkage there, which stops the rear suspension jacking up. Very neat, all-together package. Well, not only has it got the adjustable controls up front with the screen and the handlebars, it's also got the adjustable foot pegs down here, adjustable brake lever and adjustable gear lever on the other side. You can see there's two screw holes here. You undo these two screws, take them out, move the footrest up so it goes up and back. Me with my long legs though, I've left them in the lower position. But something else you can do is actually adjust the seat and lift that up by a good sort of inch. It goes from this lowest position to the highest one. Now when we were on the launch in Barcelona, Even though I saw all these things and had a little play with the handlebars, I didn't get into the whole thing because you just haven't got the time on one of these press launches. But now I've had this for 2 or 3 weeks, I have been able to play with it, and I'll show you how the seat adjusts. So with the pannier off and using the ignition key, there's a little lock for the seat. Turn it, unlock the seat, dead easy. On here, you've got 2 adjustment positions, 2 sockets there and 2 at the front, if you can see those 2. And to match these sockets on the seat, you've got locating pegs on the frame, there and there. So all you have to do is match the 2 together. This is very fiddly, in fact, and it's not instantly adjustable at all. Well, I can hardly say that was easy. I have done it before, in rehearsals, let's say that, and it went fairly straightforward, but it is fiddly, not quickly adjustable. But after all, it's not something you do every day. You'd adjust it to suit yourself, and once it was there, you'd leave it. But you can see the difference in ride height. It's a good inch, and so you're well and truly up in the air. Well, if you're wondering why I've got my gloves on, I'll show you. BMW's tricks aren't over yet. There's yet more adjustments on this. Under here is an extending mudguard. I'm gonna find it. And the idea is that you bring this down, don't laugh, there it goes. You bring it down to stop spraying the vehicles behind you. I don't quite know what the thinking is. It's very nice thinking to think of following motorists, but I don't think motorists think of us very much, do you? But that's what it's about. So put your gloves on, stand by the side of the road and do that. Very strange. Well, that's the conducted tour for now of the BMW. But how does it all work out on the road? I even took this to Alton Park, not on a track day, but at the Great Northern Bike Run, and so did Charlie Williams. What did Charlie think of it?
Well, strangely enough, I was involved in the late 80s with BMW an awful lot and did a lot of their track days, so I was quite familiar with the range of bikes then, the K100s, the K1s, just got into the K1.
You're not that old, are you?
Well, unfortunately, yes. So I have had experience on track days with BMWs, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. This is a whole new breed of motorcycle though, isn't it? It's a whole lot different to the things I used to ride around the track.
Oh, yeah.
It's marvellous.
How did you find it? I mean, it's very well planted, isn't it?
Exceptionally well planted. That's a good term, that, isn't it? Yeah, I must remember that one. No, it is. It steers. It's very responsive. It's very, very smooth, and it's got a good gearbox. Couldn't fault it, really. Marvellous, marvellous.
I think some of the talk about it being a bit overweight and whatnot, you really don't feel this. This is what I found. You don't feel it when you're on the move, do you?
Not at all, and even, okay, we've been around the track, but it's not at racing speeds particularly, you know, everything's sort of marshalled out there, so you can't go too quickly. And just riding it around here and parking it again, it's not too heavy at all. It seems to me that a lot of the time, when acquisitions like that are made levelled against a bike, it's because they've just got to find something wrong with it. There's got to be something, you know. No, that's no big problem at all.
Well, that's the racer's view, but what's it like in the real world? I shall now go and find out. When I rode the K1200 RS at its launch in Barcelona, I thought it just might be a bike that I could get to like. So the only thing to do was use one for everyday transport. So after 3 weeks and 1,000 miles, how was it for me? First, despite its size, you can commute on it. With a fairly relaxed riding position, a tractable motor, light clutch and a superb clunk-free gearbox, city traffic is no problem whatsoever, except for those confusing indicator switches, of course. With panniers attached, you can even store a helmet or 2 and take all the papers you're ever likely to need, even a laptop if you want. At low speed, it's one of the steadiest bikes I've ever ridden, even feet up turns are dead easy. Leave the panniers on and you can go touring, or leave them off and you can go playing. On the open road, this, the most powerful and fastest BMW bike ever built, can really fly. With 130 horses straining at the leash, it could be wild, but it's not. It's the smoothest engine I've ever come across and incredibly quiet too, but its power delivery is amazing. With a massive plateau of torque, it pours power out like cream from a pail. But just to remind you it's got an edge, there's a nice throaty induction snarl from about 6.5 grand to the 9,000 rev limiter, which will see you topping 155 in no time at all. While it's not a scratches tool, it's beautifully balanced with neutral steering and brilliant road holding. With the telelever suspension up front and power lever at the rear ironing out the slightest bumps without a hint of sogginess, this is a totally planted bike. Add in a really slick 6-speed gearbox and those amazing stand it on the nose in the rain anti-lock brakes and you can really motor. Mind you, 130 and third performance doesn't aid fuel consumption one bit. Over 1,000 miles is averaged out at 45 miles to the gallon, but it did drop to a lowly 39 on a memorable blast to the Great Northern Bike Run. The fairing might look big and bulbous, but despite this, side winds leave you unaffected, which is more than I can say for the adjustable screen. Low was okay, but the raised position concentrated the blast far too much on my helmet. So it's a heavyweight bike, but like heavyweight boxers, it's light on its feet. What really counts is the way it handles itself and whether it packs a punch. The Beamer does, and while it might not deliver a knockout to the competition, it'll still be there at the end of the round. A worthy contender in the big bike stakes. Who knows, I might even be tempted myself.